today we are starting a brand new Pondless Waterfall, and we are up in Amsterdam, New York at Hillcrest Assisted Living. Well, the nice part about this is this water feature is going to be in a courtyard area where all the residents are going to be able to enjoy it. We're going to have not only waterfalls, but we're going to incorporate stacked slate urns, and it's going to have lighting so they'll be able to enjoy it all day long and at night should they choose. But this is going to be a really, really nice setting because the owner of this facility has put a lot of effort into making this area for the residents really nice. And we were brought in by another company called Helioscaping. That is a local company. They're doing all the hardscape and everything else here, and all we're going to do is a water feature. So you can follow along, see what we come up with. I'm anxious to see what we come up with. So in order to get our Pondless Reservoir in here, we really needed everything leveled up. Kyle and Jason just got done taking all the excess stone out of here, and this geogrid, which is necessary for a retaining wall, was kind of in our way. So what we had to do is actually pull it back up a little bit and then get everything level. Then we'll put the geogrid back, fabric, get some soil in there, and then put their other layer of geogrid in there. It's a really good idea to have this in retaining wall so the retaining wall never flops over, you know, when the pond guy shows up. It's always in the way, right, Kyle?
Yeah, it tends to be. We got it, though.
No doubt you got it. So next stage, what we're going to do is once we get that fabric and geogrid back in there, we're going to start digging out this whole bank up here to get it to the right level that we need it for our aqua block. And then that way we can get our reservoir in there. Well, now that we got all that wonderful blacktop and concrete and all that other garbage out of there, we coated the whole bottom of this with sand, which is pretty well clear of anything, maybe a few roots or small stones, but Jason is tamping it down right now just because the sand is soft. So if you give it a little tamp and then re-rake it, at least everything will be solid under there. We really only went with about 2 inches to cover everything because we're going to actually do a whole nother layer of underlayment. All this stone area here will not even be near our liner because it'll be all protected. This is always a great stage to be at. We have our Pondless Reservoir in. Basically, the capacity of this is about 550 gallons right now. And then when you add that little bit of extra to come up another 6 inches of water, you know, we're going to gain probably, let's say, just say 600 to be even. So we don't have to do any real math, but quick and easy. We know we got 600 gallons. The thing is with that, we have no way we have 600 gallons with water in motion. So we've probably got about 3 times the amount of water that we're going to need, which means that we have plenty of water storage. So our next stage is going to be to get the bigger gravel on top of this. Then we can start setting rock. That's the fun part. We get to start building waterfalls.
Right now I'm bulk fitting the top of our large stacked slate urns. How I'm doing that is I'm drilling a hole through the top with a 2 3/4 inch hole saw, which I've done already. And now what I'm gonna do is install our 1.5 inch bulk fitting. How I'll do that is it has a rubber gasket. That rubber gasket's gonna go on top, and then the nut is gonna go on the underside. And then every bulk fitting has reverse threads. So I'm gonna thread it on in reverse. All set.
right now we are on to the second drop. Because we hit some blacktop concrete, all that stuff with wire in it, we dug out a couple extra inches so we could pad it with sand and then more underlayment. So right now the guys are putting the final touches on there. We got this wall kind of straight up and down on this sand here, so then that way when we flip the liner back behind our waterfall, we can actually put some gravel in there to about the same height. That way we can set some more rocks, layer it back. Yeah, we'll have to bib it, but it's just going to give it a much better look. And besides, we like wasting foam anyway, right guys?
Yeah.
Usually Jason has about a can's worth on him. We should probably back charge him for that, but... Right, Jay?
Take it out of my pail.
What's that all over your shorts right there? Isn't that all black?
Oh, this is pond foam. See this on my leg here? This is PVC glue. Al gave me a nickname.
Look at Kyle. Well, see, that's like armor.
Exhibit A. It is.
A little bit armor. And listen, we have a new guy with us. His name is Jack. Girls are gonna love that hair, buddy. You're on YouTube now. So every time you're doing something custom, it usually ends up that we got to seam some liner. So where we want to set this next urn just to kind of offset it and give it a whole different look. Unfortunately, we got to seam a 10-foot piece of liner on here, but it's only gonna take a few minutes. Kyle and Jack are helping me out. I got our double-sided seam tape, which is important to get first. Kyle's cleaning that liner. We'll prime that one. Then we adhere that to this with the double-sided. Then, just as a precaution, we're gonna take a 6-inch cover tape. We're gonna go right over the top, and then it's foolproof.
What are you doing, Jay?
What I am doing is feeding our light wires through this 3/4 inch kink-free pipe. And the reason for that is these light wires are going to be buried deep under gravel. So with having it through this 3/4 inch pipe, if the light goes bad, we'll be able to pull these wires back through and run other wires through without fighting to get them wires out from underneath the gravel.
Pretty good idea, don't you think, Jack?
We have to place these last small rocks up against this wall. We've got some sealing to do. We've got to fill in this area, put our auto fill valve in. And Kyle, what are you doing?
Right now, I'm getting these lights in place, kind of really light up these drops for the nighttime. Brings everything out, brings everything to light. Get them hidden and the lines ran out, taken care of.
Excellent. Hey Kyle, did you have a slight issue this morning with something?
I don't want to talk about it, but yeah. my foam can kind of exploded a little bit. Yeah, nice and early.
All right, and then Kyle's gonna get to sealing. and then we'll get this thing running today.
Sounds like a plan, Jay.
All right, let's get to it, man. What do you got going on here?
I'm trying to see how many cans of foam I can use in the next 15 minutes. I think
You've
it's
used quite a few.
So right now we're to the stage where we're fine-tuning everything, we're filling up the reservoir, rinsing stuff down. Now the interesting part is going to be, and which is always interesting, is it going to do exactly what we wanted it to do? Sometimes water takes its own path and makes it so much better, and then other times we got to fine-tune it. But when you're looking down through here, in between that urn and that rock is kind of carved out, it gives it more of like that canyon look is what we were going for, as opposed to this other side where it's going to be more of a bouldery sheet type fall. But you know what? We're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But I'm really looking forward to firing this thing up. Now that we got this all wrapped up, I kind of want to explain to you exactly what we were thinking when we were building this. First and foremost, this is a retirement home. We want something that's very easy maintenance, which a Pondless Waterfall is virtually no maintenance. I don't want to say totally no maintenance, but it's anybody that's had a Pondless knows that it's very, very little care. We're actually going to open and close this up and be able to maintain this for this facility, so that's going to help out with that. We really didn't want a deep body water because it is a public place, and who knows, you know, small kids could be visiting or something if they climbed over the wall. You know, we don't want to have a lot of water, so basically we wanted just enough. We set our water level so we have just enough to cover most of the gravel, so it's going to give you that little bit of a stream effect, but there's not a ton of standing water. And then by placing all these rocks right up against these stacked slate urns, we wanted to mesh that whole natural with the more man-made looking product. And what's cool is when you flank waterfalls right around these things, it does make it look that much better. I think that incorporating the urns into a waterfall is much better than just a standalone. Not that there's anything wrong with a standalone, but I think once you create something like this, you can see exactly what I'm talking about. So down here in the lower end where we put this rock right here, we wanted it to catch just a little bit of water. Didn't want to take away from the waterfall, but we wanted enough that just like in nature, when water gets kind of caught by another rock that has been lodged in next to it, it's just kind of casting over it nice and slow. And then when you come back over onto this side, you know, you have these like little kickers that are coming out there, and then of course water is not only rippling off the top of the urns, but the rock that's right next to it, it's got some water running down the east side also, so it gives it more of that rain look. That's what I like about these urns. They kind of give you that rain look as it's splashing down, and I'm going to show you that more so up on top after I'm done down here. So in this section, we wanted to have viewing points from each different location, because not only is that pergola over here and the patio is going to be all behind me, but also on this other side, we have this really nice gazebo that people are going to be able to sit in, as well as a patio. So at different times of the year, different times of the day, you know, maybe at night people will be sitting in the gazebo in the screen room, and we want them to be able to see this. Now we have these waterfalls all lit up, so then that way you can see them at the nighttime also. And then when you come right around here, whenever we find rocks that are kind of cut out like that, I mean, that looks like Mother Nature kind of eroded that with heavy water that's coming down through in the springtime, so we wanted to incorporate that in there. And then up on top, and there you can see where that water is just kind of cresting down, and then it's some of it's like sheeting off a tad bit on the right, but it's mostly just rippling down that other rock. So it makes it look like things have fractured and slid and did all that cool stuff as nature intended. And then back up on top, we have this really, really low waterfall up on top. It's more to dam the water in that larger urn, which I'm going to pop up there and show you exactly what I mean by that. So one of the other things we do, and you've seen in many of our other videos, is that when we bulk fit the top of these urns, we are able to get more water than what the manufacturer provides, which gives it a much better look with more flow. Then over in here is where I was talking about. Now we have this rock that we put in there that has all those nooks and crannies and stuff, and it just looks like it's come from some sort of glacial thing that got all beat up and run around. And that's the cool part about what happened millions of years ago on all these rocks, is that it just created all these nooks and crannies. And for us to replicate nature, it just makes it that much better when you can see what to do with those type of rocks. And you know, this, we could have created that one like as a sheet fall, but I like how it kind of goes to the left and to the right because it's different, because we have enough sheet falls over in these areas. And then once we get up on top, like I was just talking about a bit ago, you see how that urn just is creating all that rainwater look? That's what happens when we put a body of water at the bottom of an urn. And then, of course, we have all these little nooks that we always like to do where the water is just kind of trickling through there. It's going to keep that moss wet, and it's going to grow really well in here. Even though it's in the sun, as long as it's got moisture, it's going to do fine in there. And then, of course, we put just a few aquatic plants in to accent it, because we don't want it to be overbearing. We want it to be all about the water, but just a little bit of plant texture. And the landscaper is going to come all the way down through in here and plant it all the way around. There's going to be an ornamental fence, which is also going to look nice. So there's going to be a lot going on in here. All right, so here's another view, and you can see now where that gazebo is over there. But see how I was talking about by placing just that moss up on that rock, and it's just getting wet, and it's going to keep it moist. It's just going to naturalize it. And then up in here, we wanted to have that little bit of cooling also. And look at all that white water on the top. We do have a pipe that's pushing extra water up here just for the waterfalls. But I really like how that urn, the taller the urn is, you got to have a little bit more area to catch the splash. And especially with the wind up here on top of this hill. But to me, it's worth to have that height and that body of water around there, so you get a totally different effect than you did before. Earlier on in the video, I talked about the reason that I had this urn so much higher, and the reason for that is when people are pulling into the entrance to this retirement home, they're going to be greeted by this urn and the splashing water, and it's going to create interest, and they're going to be like, wow, what's that over there? I mean, think about it. I believe that having this sort of a Pondless Waterfall slash fountainscape in a retirement setting, I think it gives a little bit of edge, because you know how water is. It's nice and soothing, and the amount of landscaping and hardscaping, shade structures, gazebo that they're doing here, I think it gives a little bit of an edge on other retirement centers. So I know if I needed to have some assisted living, I'd pick this place, especially seeing how I love water. Well, another cool project comes to an end. It's been a lot of fun building this. What do you think?
Of course it is. I think it was awesome, man.
Always is.
You ever notice I say, what do you think?
Yes.
I know what you're thinking.
Yeah, it's always cool when we're with you, Al.
Yeah, what a brown noser. It's always a lot of fun working with you guys. We're going to wrap this up quick. You're going to have to watch for all the finished video.
Pictures, video.
Actually, I think they're watching the finished video, but do you hear the thunder?
Yeah.
So between the luck of all three of us, the chances of us getting struck by lightning are really, really good. So we're going to wrap this up. I hope you guys like this project. If you like this sort of thing, please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell.
Ding, ding.
All right, and enjoy your families. That's the most important part. And with a feature like this, how can you? Kyle, take us away. We'll see you all next time.
Hook it.
I think it's a good idea.